Well, hello YouTube. Today's video is going to be about OTR trucking, which is over the road. It won't really apply much to regional or dedicated jobs. I'll mention a little bit about those. For you experienced truck drivers, you're going to know all this that I'm fixing to say. I still welcome you to watch because you can critique me and tell me if things have changed since I was out last. And I know things have changed, but from what I'm saying and all that. But anyway, that's what's coming up next on the Barbecue Trucker. Well, hello, YouTubians. Oh, by the way, Nacho's here. Hi, Nacho. He doesn't like to wave. Anyway, let's get back down here. Don't go. Little thing, I'll tell you. I stay up late at night sometimes, and he will come up to me and kind of whimper and whine, and then walk to my bedroom door, and then walk back and whimper and whine, and he is letting me know that it is time for night-night. And sometimes I make him wait, sometimes I don't. But anyway, like I say, this video is going to be about, is for a lot of my friends and family that don't quite know how OTR, over the road trucking, works. I'm going to wing this. I didn't make any notes. I am actually a very good note taker. I just hate taking notes. Now, that'll change when I go to orientation for my next company and all, because I will take notes because it is very important. A lot of people, you'll hear them. Let's just start this off with orientation. A lot of people, you'll hear them, that's boring, that's boring, that's boring, that's boring. And yeah, a lot of it is. But a lot of it is also good information that you need to know, so you need to pay attention. So any of y'all that are fixing to start your truck driving career, make sure you pay attention in orientation, especially to the boring safety classes. Excuse me. Smoke, you know. Oh, by the way, my glasses, still wearing them, been wearing them a bunch, trying to get used to them. They say it'll take about 2 weeks. The bifocal thing is not bad. Walking down steps is total hell. I've either got to look under them or look down like that when I walk down steps, because it makes it seem like the next step is 10 foot. But anyway, and also I do want to give a movie review. My nephew and I went and saw Joker yesterday, and if you haven't seen Joker, I highly suggest that you don't. Oh my God. It was disappointing at best. I'm telling you that. It was just basically about his life story, and it just drug out and drug out and drug out. My son told me that he'd heard that people were walking out because of the violence. Well, they're wussies. I'm telling you. I said with a W, not a P. They're wussies because, yeah, he killed a few people with a gun that were beating him up, and kind of the first part of it, whoop-de-doo, they should have had their asses shot. They were beating him up. He had a disorder where he would laugh uncontrollably, which is, by the way, a real disorder. And people thought they were laughing at him, got mad, started beating him up, and he got tired of it, so he shot him. I got no problem with that. And then, well, I'm not going to tell you about the movie. I'm just going to tell you I wouldn't waste my time and money going to it, because to be honest with you, the previews for upcoming movies, before the movie started, were way better than the actual movie. But anyway, okay, enough about Joker. And got to have me another drink of Starbucks here. I love Starbucks coffee. I only drink 2 cups of coffee a day normally. Of course, they're this size. Got to have them in the Yeti because I didn't think I'd be able to get used to a metal cup, but I'm going to tell you something. And it'll stay hot for several hours. Sneak another one there. As a matter of fact, I drink my tea in this one. And one thing I found out about it back when I used to work at Six Flags, and even in the summer, I would take and I would fill it full of ice. And I would leave it in my van, sitting out in the parking lot all day. You know, van probably 130, 140 degrees in the summer in there. And I would get me a can of soda when I come out to drink. Actually, it was, I don't like mini sodas, but it was ginger ale, Seagram's ginger ale. I like that. And I would get out here and then I would take and pour out about a third a cup of water, still had 2/3 of a cup of ice in it after sitting in the heat all day long. And then I'd just pour my soda in there and I had me a nice cold soda all the way home. I can actually put some ice in that in the evening and, fill it full of tea. And the next morning it'll still have ice in it. That to me is just freaking amazing. I'm going to have to get me one of those handle things for it. But anyway, back to the subject. I got off of that a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about how OTR, over the road trucking, works. Okay, basically, you're not going to have a set sleep pattern in most cases, unless you have a dedicated or maybe even regional run. You're just not, because loads are different. And if you have a lot of dropping hooks, you're lucky for one thing. Maverick says on their glass division that they're like 68% dropping hook, which that's cool. Dropping hooks make it easier because what you do with that is you pull straight into the shipper, drop an empty trailer, hook up a loaded trailer, then you look up under the tarps because it's already have the tarps over it. Make sure that it's good and secured the way it's supposed to be, and then tie up the tarps and off you go. If it's a van or reefer company or whatnot, dropping hook, you drop an empty trailer, you pick up a loaded, get your bills, do your trip plan, and go. Trip planning is key. It is totally essential, especially with the parking situation, because there's a lot of times where you're actually going to need to reserve a parking spot a day in advance or something like that so you'll know you have a place to park. It has gotten that bad. The government puts all the rules on how long you can drive and when you got to take a break, which is cool. I got no problem with that. But they don't provide places for you to park. You see trucks parked on off ramps and on on ramps and the reason they don't want to be there. There's no facilities. They don't want to be there, but they're there because there is nowhere else to park. It was a bad situation when back in when I was driving last, a little over 10 years ago, and from what I understand, it's just as bad, if not worse now. They need to fix that problem. So all you congressmen and senators and all that are watching this video, take note. Get your heads out your butts. Quit trying to beat up the president. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And work to solve a solution, to come up with a solution, solve a problem. Jesus Christ. Y'all want to solve all these other problems, about the way you got to log and all that, which is fine. But Jesus Christ, man, solve the parking problem. It's bad. But anyway, the way it works as far as logging goes, you basically have a 14-hour day that you can work and drive. Now, you can work it doesn't matter how many hours you've worked in a day, you can work for 24. You just can't drive. You cannot drive after you've been on duty for 14 hours. And that's on duty not driving. driving time, whatnot. Okay, let's kind of go back to that. Driving time, your log has basically 4 categories. You have off duty, sleeper berth, driving, and on duty not driving. And there's what deal called personal conveyance. I think it goes on the driving part. I'll explain that in a minute. But it's pretty self-explanatory. Off duty is off duty. Sleeper berth is sleeper berth. Either one of those count as off duty time. Okay. Now here's where people do it differently. According to the Department of Transportation laws, all time waiting at a shipper or receiver to get loaded and unloaded is to be logged on duty, not driving. Now, there'll be times where you know that you're there and you're waiting to get loaded and you know it's going to be 4 or 5 hours before you get loaded. A lot of people will go off duty. Maybe in a sleeper berth, but probably off duty. At some companies, that may affect whether you get detention pay, because a lot of them will pay detention pay like after 2 hours, because I guarantee you they're charging that company. They're charging that company out the wazoo, and they're not paying the driver near what they should. But anyway, that's another subject. But anyway, so that's kind of how your log works. So let's say you have a live load, and you pull into the shipper. They'll tell you, okay, you're going to back in door number 29, and there's a truck in it now. As soon as it gets unloaded, we'll let you know or watch, and then you can back in there. Well, it may be an hour, maybe 2 hours. In some cases could be a little bit more, just depending on how they work. And then you back into that door. Well, actually, that time is supposed to be logged on duty, not driving. Now, I will definitely talk with the company I go to work for, hopefully Maverick, and find out what their policy is on that. I mean, probably going to be log it the way you're supposed to. According to DOT, Department of Transportation, any kind of act that's required by the company has to be logged as on duty, not driving. Pre-trip inspections must be logged on duty, not driving. Fueling must be logged on duty, not driving. Those there are very important. You better show. It says log it the way you do it. I don't know how long everybody takes to do a pre-trip inspection, but I wouldn't log less than 15 minutes. You want to do a good, thorough pre-trip inspection. It's going to take close to that. And post-trip inspection too, before and after every trip. So you can basically say there's 30 minutes of your 14 hours just on those 2 things. If you have to fuel, you pull in and you hit the on duty, not driving. You fuel, doesn't matter however long it takes. And then, okay, that's a 888 number. We'll just hit the ignore button. However long it takes. And then when you get ready to go again, you switch back, or from what I understand, the truck will switch itself back to driving if you're going more than 3 miles an hour now. I heard that's kind of a new thing. But anyway, so that's how that's kind of done. But anyway, let's say you go and you back up to a dock. Say the dock's ready or empty. You back up to a dock. You go on duty, not driving. You log it on duty, not driving. You get loaded. Get your paperwork. Do your pre-trip. And then go into the driving section and take off. Because I've had several of my friends ask me, well, when are you going to mainly be driving? Well, It could be any time of the day or night when you're driving or sleeping. Now, myself, I prefer to drive at night. Less traffic. When you stop at 6 or 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, there's always a place to park because the parking spots normally start filling up around 3 in the afternoon. 3 to 5 or 6 in the afternoon or evening is when the truck stops fill up. Normally by 6 o'clock in the evening, maybe 7 in the bigger ones in some locations. But pretty much after that, it's really hard to find a parking spot. It really is. But so like I say, you could be running day or night. You will be running day or night, unless you're on a dedicated or maybe regional. That's just part of truck driving. You gotta thank you, KWTX. You gotta be ready to learn to sleep at any time of the day or night. And I'll be honest with you, I used to would get more sleepy at 3 o'clock in the afternoon than I would at 3 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, also like let's say here's you're driving. I'm talking about on duty time and all that. Like with Maverick, okay, believe it's within the first 50 miles after you leave because it's flatbedding and with glass or regular flatbed load. I think it's within the first 50 miles. You have to stop and do a load check required by the company. That has to be logged on duty, not driving. Okay, and then I believe it's every 150 miles, you have to stop and do a load check. Log it on duty, not driving. Now, some of you Maverick drivers may say, no, we log that off duty. I don't know. I don't think you're supposed to. I don't know. I've still got a lot to learn. I'll find out. But I would assume that you log that on duty, not driving. So like I say, on your clock, you got 14 hours in a day. And that includes both on duty and like I say, after your 14 hours, you can work. Like if you get to a receiver that, to get unloaded and they tell you, oh, it's going to be 5 hours and you've got 1 hour or 2 hours left on your 14, and then they get ready for you, you can go on duty and work as long as you want to, as long as you're not driving. But remember this, once you go to the off duty or to the sleeper burst status, you have to have 10 consecutive hours before you can start driving again. So if you got there and you had to wait 5 hours and so you log that off duty while you're waiting, and then you have to back up to the dock, or you maybe already in the dock, then they go ahead and start unloading you. You're going to need to log at least 30 minutes, I would think, maybe more, of on duty, not driving, for them to unload you. Well, then you got to wait. You got to start your 10 hours over after that before you can drive again. That's just the way that works. And I'm actually one of the probably few, I don't know, but I'm one of those that I love the idea of electronic logs because I hated the idea of, I worked for a company, I'm not going to mention their name, out of Hamilton, Diamond S, but I'm not going to mention them. And the owner of that did not give a damn about the laws. I took off one day and ran all the way down into the valley of Texas and then back up to San Antonio. I had been running from like 3 o'clock in the morning and now it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm at San Antonio and I called him, let him know I'm going to go to bed. And he goes, oh, hell no. You're going to go back to Hamilton and pick up another load for tomorrow. And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, well, yeah, you are. And I hung up on him. And I took me about a 4-hour nap. Then I got up and drove 3 hours back to Hamilton, took his truck to him and told him where he could shove it. But with electronic logs and the way they've got that, all down now, you have to run pretty much legal, and I'm for that because it's a hell of a lot safer. I don't want to be out there driving for 24, 36 hours straight And I don't want other people out there driving for 24, 36 hours straight where you just, and you're all over the road, and man, that ain't safe. So I am a proponent of the electronic logs. But like I say, that's kind of how it works as far as in, the trucking deal. As far as the way days off time works with most companies on over the road, not counting regional or dedicated, because a lot of times they're home every weekend or sometimes several nights a week and every weekend. But over the road, you normally get 1 day off for every 7 days out. And that's just kind of standard in the industry. Now, if you've been out for 3 weeks and you need 4 days off, you talk with your fleet manager in your company, most likely they're going to approve it. No big deal. It just depends on how much you can afford to take off. If you're doing one of these lease purchase, which I would never do, that's my opinion. No, I wouldn't work for the company I'm lease purchasing for. I did that with MS Carriers back in the day, and saw how easily you can get screwed. Most of them you have like a big $30,000-$40,000 balloon payment at the end, which you're paying for an already worn out truck that you've already paid several $100,000 for out of payments. Payments probably $1,000 a week or more, and I'm not exaggerating by that. So you got to figure. But if you're doing it, not knocking you, it may be your thing. But if you're doing that, you got to remember one thing: that payment's going to come out every week, whether you're off or whether you're running. You take 3 days off at home, you're most likely not going to make enough money to make your truck payment, or you may not for that week. So if you're doing that, you pretty much can figure not going home much at all. But anyway, like I say, 1 day off for every 7 days out is kind of the standard in the industry. When I go out, I'm gonna stay out for a while and just work, and get some money saved up, and then I'll come in and take off, go to Six Flags, see some of my old friends, and ride some roller coasters because I love riding roller coasters and all that. But hang on just a second, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I pushed the stop button instead of the pause button, so I'll just edit these together. And another thing I kind of want to talk about real quickly, CB radios. Are they a must? Well, let me put this. Are they a requirement? No. Are they a must? Yep. In my opinion. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of times my CB radio is turned off because I don't want to hear all the CB Rambos that are sitting in a truck somewhere with their curtains pulled and they're the biggest, baddest sumbitch in the world. And they say all kinds of crap that they would never say to your face. That just drives me crazy. But you need them. Some places, the shippers and receivers use them to let you know what dock to go to or where to find a trailer or whatnot. And if you come up on a traffic jam or traffic stopped, it's good to have, because that way you can learn what lane you need to be in to get around the problem and what's going on. And if you need help, you can ask for help. There was one time, funny story. I was in Philadelphia, and the directions I had, it was actually the Home Depot distribution center. Don't know if that's still in the same spot. There were 2 ways to get into it, but they flat told me on one set of directions that they weren't accurate, and they were real hard directions, and that the other set of directions I had was the straightest and best and simplest way to get there. So I went by the simplest directions. It wasn't long. I turned off the interstate or main highway or whatever it was, headed down toward the distribution center, and I see a sign that says 12'4" bridge. Boop, got to turn around. 12'4". Well, I'm 13'6". Do the math. That ain't gonna work. So, or maybe it said 13'4". I think it did say 13'2" or 13'4". But anyway, it was under 13'6". So I turn around and I start getting on the CB. Hey, drivers, hey, how do I get, anybody know how I get into this Home Depot distribution center? I really need help. The directions they gave me has a low bridge. And man, I am just asking and asking for help, and nobody is saying anything until I realized I had my volume control turned all the way down. They've been trying to help me for an hour. That's my bad. But anyway, I found out that, oh, this was kind of nervous. They said, oh, don't worry about that bridge. You can get under it. It's not as low as it says it is. Just go the way your directions say. So I'm telling you, I got there. I put on my flashers and I creeped. I'm talking about slower than walking pace probably under that bridge because it was close. I'm talking about an inch or two close. But I made it under there, got up there and got it load done and all that. I thought y'all might find that humorous. Yeah. I mean, like I say, no one at all. No one would help me. Nobody. My volume all the way down. They were trying. Anyway, I didn't make notes or anything, so I can't think of anything. This video's already gone over 20 minutes anyway. Y'all have any questions or comments, put them down there. Like I say, these videos will get way more interesting once I get back out on the road. And I'm going to do a little thing called the rock thing. I think there's other drivers that may do this or whatever, but what I'll do is, for whatever company I'm from, or I'll get some of my competition barbecue team shirts or hats made up, and I will like get a rock from probably my home, either Central or North Texas, and I'll write something on it. And in a video, I will hide that in a pretty good spot. And the only way you're going to know that it's there is to either get lucky and find it, or by watching my videos. And I'll give like a hat away or a shirt away or something like that to the first person who finds it. And that way, we kind of like the old note in a bottle thing. I'll have rocks from Texas traveling all over the United States. I just think that's going to be fun to do. But anyway, if I can think of any more stuff on this subject, I'll just put it in another video later. Like I say, please subscribe if you like the channel, and it's going to get better. Hit the like button. Hit the dislike button if you dislike it. I think I've had one dislike on one of my videos, and that's okay. Not everybody's going to agree with what I say. I understand that. But if you're going to put the dislike button, would you please leave me a comment as to why? Because that way it could help make the content better or help me do a better job. I'm new at this YouTube stuff. I'll say I'm new. I haven't been doing it for long. Had to be taught by my great nephews how to do it in the first place. But anyway, please do not forget to thank all your first responders, your military. Move over for any vehicles on the side of the road or slow down significantly. Keep that shiny side down, up, and the rubber side down. Oh, and I've said this before, but never, ever, ever forget. Do not, and I mean do not, take a sleeping pill, and a laxative at the same time. Until next time, this is a barbecue trucker. See you later, and God bless America.